All right, if you couldn't tell, I let my hair down because you heard from Professor Raj, and now you got to close out with punk rock Raj. So let's do this last bit, huh? Woo! All right. So yeah, just a reminder where I left you off. I want to give you a little piece of hope for tonight before you get out of here, and also wake you up in these church pews. The big players locally are pretty dang local. Some of these are headquarters, some of these are facilities. Keep this top of mind as I give you this last talk on resisting AI meaningfully and practically. What can you do? What can you take away from tonight? What are the reasons you can act and should? From all of these people you just heard, let's synthesize that info. I want to talk about some threads to leave you with. Remember, I approach this from a degrowth lens. I don't think Green New Deal style thinking fits every problem, though it's pretty valuable to think about. To keep it simple, here's my nuance. I think of Green New Deal style thinking as a mechanism to say, if you are going to do this thing that you are seemingly going to want to do for some reason, let's make it better for communities. Let's have some green sustainable jobs and introduce some long-lasting infrastructure and tech that will at least be something when your business goes kaput. But if we are really going to do this, that's a big question for me. Why are we doing this anyway? If you recall my talk, this is a land grab. This isn't a value-generating business proposition. This is something else. So I want to clarify the nature of the Faustian bargain here. Using Gen AI to answer 2 + 2, ChatGPT trained on 2 to 3 times the entire internet on gigawatts of power, that resembles towing a paperclip with a coal rolling semi-truck. There is no AI as is without significant capital. I believe this moment requires a good bit of saying no. Especially as a machine learning engineer, I can recall back to times where different approaches were used that didn't require the same problems and didn't have the same problematic outcomes and also make money. But they don't want to hear that, imagine. One last thing on this note, techno-fascism is a thing. It recalls Fascism, a famous essay by Umberto Eco, which is short. I recommend you read it if you haven't already, about resisting fascism in general and how things came up that you wouldn't expect to along that name, fascism. But given that techno-fascism is a thing, why would you say yes to it in any meaningful sense? If you say, generative AI makes me more productive at work, you sound a little bit like Boxer the Horse from 1984. You can work harder, and now so will the rest of your coworkers with you. It makes more of a decision, perhaps, than you think it does. So I want to scale back a little, though. Even though I just said all that, if you were here in the last session, you may have heard from the mayor of Quincy talking about data centers and how they are being built out there. And there's probably a little less resistance in a more rural area where people depend on trade jobs, and they want that kind of a thing to happen. I'm not a perfectionist, but I do want to say if it is going to happen anyway, don't let it go by, though. Tomorrow there's going to be a public hearing that we requested from the Department of Ecology on the Sabi Data Center to give public comment. Air doesn't stay within a city border. People should be speaking up about that. In Oregon, the Department of Environmental Quality approaches things a little differently. If you're going to build a shady diesel generator powered data center, in order to get that permit, you at least have to comply by installing scrubbers and other technological mitigations. We can ask for that. Don't let them do to Quincy what XAI did to black communities in Memphis, setting up those tent city diesel generators just to power up some racist machine. What about clean energy mandates that we can ask for, Green New Deal style thinking? In the EU, they're putting forward the EED, the Energy Efficiency Directive. It is voluntary. Not all member states are required to participate. But what they are trying to do is at least mandate reporting for data centers and facilities above 500 kilowatts. That's actually a very small barrier. Pretty much everybody's going to have to report on their power and water use so the public can see what they're doing a little bit. They're pushing for renewable energy targets, 50% renewables by 2024, 100% by 2027 for new data center builds, and promoting practices like reusing that waste heat energy. It's something. Now, some of those renewables, quote unquote, may be in the banner of nuclear. Not so good, maybe. We have some disagreements with our colleagues back and forth, but again, it's something. There are reasons to be skeptical about this, including that voluntary nature, but it's something. The last something that I want to talk about are CBAs, community benefit agreements. These are legal contracts, vehicles by which communities have asked other projects for concessions when things are being built, primarily for casinos, other things, vice regulations, dispensaries, where things are coming into a community, people, members of the community are concerned, and they say, hey, can we enter into a legal contract where you have to pay for our lawyer's fees so we can read the jargon you're sending at us? Can we demand from you that you put in training in community college for the rest of us so we can have jobs in this fancy new facility? Those things can be asked for. On that note, with CBAs, it demands attention to see whether those will work for data centers. There's a lot of non-transparency. Moving on to more practical resistance, here's my dangerous take. Not really, I'm sure you probably agree with this, but let's get those unionization numbers going here. If you work in tech, I encourage you to look into and reach out to two excellent institutions. One is the Office Professional Employees Industrial Union, I believe, International Union, OPEIU, and the other is the Communication Workers of America via their campaign code CWA, Campaign to Organize Digital Employees. They've successfully unionized many firms, including parts of Activision Blizzard, I do believe, Mapbox, other places. You can do it too. You're being surveilled. Your colleagues are being surveilled. Your technician colleagues who depend on you as the highly paid engineer or knowledge worker are being surveilled and pushed to work harder, as are you to many degrees. So unionize, do what your colleagues do, join collectively in a group because you're stronger together. You can ask your boss to be better about the environment with the backup of your colleagues. It's hard to push back. Without that backup, I want to talk about demand reduction. That's fancy terms for use the dang thing less. What if we regulated our AI like they do in Europe a little bit? I want to talk about something off to the side. We're all staring at the big monster machine in the room, but if you're like me, my eyes are still fixated 20 years ago on why the products don't work like they used to. Consumer regulations are important. The boring regulations are important. GDPR has nothing to do with AI. It has to do with privacy. It's harder to build AI in Europe because it's harder to collect and steal your data. What about lending? Megan was so excellent to tell us about how they use AI in a variety of fields. I used to work in lending in machine learning, so I can tell you how bad it is. The FCRA, Fair Credit Reporting Act, was built in 1969 before all of these things were computerized. But guess what? Even if my old boss wanted to use ChatGPT to approve loan applications, he could not, because the FCRA mandates that you are able to explain your credit decision for fairness. And those new algorithms are not explainable, but the old ones are, and that's why we use them. So even simple consumer regulation was pushing back against this new wave because we could not do those same things, right? John Deere, right to repair. When you buy those tractors and now you have in Washington the ability to summon parts and manuals for them, this also fights AI. They can't put things that are unrepairable and probabilistic and unmaintainable in those products just by doing the boring old consumer regulation. Stay on it. The ball's over here, but you can keep working over here to prevent it from dropping to the ground. What about more direct? What about more scientific actions? If you're technical like me, well, guess what? You got a lot of options. You can do community-led data audits. You can take the papers, I put papers in quotes that these firms do because it's not research. Nobody's validating this. Nobody's working together in public interest. It's not really, what they're publishing is not really science, but you can audit it. You can talk about it. You can gather people in the community to point out the ways in which they are right and wrong. A great institute I want you to follow is DAIR, the Distributed AI Research Institute, led by some very excellent people. They led this project called the Workers' Inquiry, which is a Marxian thing. If you're a fan of Marx, I think many of us might be. In any case, they tried to talk to those data workers exploited by scale AI, and they broke the story. They were able to understand the working conditions, the exploitation, the literal dead bodies these people had to see to label data so that your AI could do NSFW detection for you. Call your reps and inform them. We've had excellent contributions from public sector unions by Corey and others here, talking about who to talk to. Yeah, stay on it. Call your reps. Keep telling them. Inform them. Let them know that there are these other avenues to attack that are not just AI regulation with that executive order that passed, blocking only one avenue. Public campaigning. We're here tonight to bring you the information. Do it to your friends too. They'll like it. Anti-consumption. Perfection is overrated. Breadth and depth both help. If you do meatless Mondays, you're not doing meatless 6 or 7 days out of the week, maybe as well. I mean, I went vegan thanks to the excellent influence of my wife, but you can do it too. It's not about doing it every day, but use less AI, right? Do it as best as you can. Like I told you, it's not about being perfect. Buy circular gadgets. If you buy a new phone, you're really creating demand generation. They have to mine that silicone. They have to get that cobalt. They have to put it in your pocket. Buy one that's refurb. Tell your boss to do so as well when they send out laptops to new colleagues. You keep doing that, it's going to reduce that demand. They want to sell that AI hardware. They want to sell that phone with the AI in it. You ain't buying. Be the millennial that kills the industry, maybe. The last thing I want to tell you is that those boycotts matter. When Target started doing all that nonsense with DEI and locking up everything, where they ripped away our rights and told us we were worthless, you stopped buying there. They lost so much money, 33% plummet. You can do that to Microsoft. You can do that to OpenAI. Just do it. Right? It's something. Better AI products. I don't believe that no ethical consumption under capitalism, that phrase is carte blanche, like most things. You still have a lot of choices. Did you know you can run AI locally on your laptop, making the impact of running that model about as equivalent to Photoshop or a heavy program you'd use on your computer? Look into more ethical AI models. There's no such thing, but there's options that are a little bit better. Here in Washington, we have the Allen Institute, which was an offshoot of Microsoft. They released a model called Olmo, which at least tells you where they got the data from. The code is open, you can read it. Chinese laboratories are doing great work on AI, where they're increasing efficiency and making it less painful to train on the environment, though it's still not so good. All I'm saying is that there's great work happening all across the world, and one of the best knobs you have against centralization of power is just making the enemy of your enemy your friend. European AI like Mistral also is doing some work on the environment. They report a lot more on the usage of their models, how much water and energy they, again, I'm skeptical, it's not perfect, but it's something. How to engage critically, how to resist, I'm gonna leave you with these punk rock tips. Collective power, much better than individual heroism. Do not abdicate from your existing choices and aim big, understanding what this really is. You don't have to say, well, yeah, we're gonna do it, so let's ask for concessions. You can also just say, we're not going to do it here. Thank you so much. I just want to leave you with that. We can turn this all around. You and your actions matter. And if there's one thing I can leave you with in all of this, nothing is inevitable. Somebody and a lot of people had to spend billions in capital to make this happen. They needed you to make this happen. It's not a force of nature. It can be unmade. Thank you.